Welcome to Tech Notice, my friends. So I just completed this build over there that has the Ryzen 5000 series processor, Ryzen 7 5800X in there. That's the brain of the computer. There is a few things I've noticed about this processor and why I think if you are a creator, you should seriously consider if you should actually get this processor or not. As well as being like amazing processor, the single core performance on this one is like top of the world, right? There is only 5900X and 5950X that are better, right? This one is like in some ways better than the M1 chip. It's just unbelievable desktop processor, right? It's got 8 cores, 16 threads, and it is fantastic. Very equal to Intel 10900K. In a lot of cases, it actually beats the 10900K. Like single core is better, but multi-core isn't, obviously because of the, more cores on 10900K. But here's the thing, I have found something very, very disturbing for me, which I think you should know about. This 5800X likes to run seriously hot. Now, whenever doing Cinebench runs or just stressing the CPU a lot, whether it's 4 threads, 6 threads, 8 threads, 16 threads, I'm getting the same results. That this CPU, when being utilized, it runs seriously hot. And seriously hot, I mean like around the lower 80s, between 80 and 84 degrees. And just after a while, it starts to drop down in the megahertz, and I saw like after like 10-15 minutes when doing a stress test on the system, I saw like roughly about 200 megahertz being dropped over there, which just means that we're leaving performance on the table. Now, here's the problem why this is a problem for the creators. So if you're a video editor using programs that use a lot of CPU rendering and utilizes the CPU multi-core, multi-threads, you're just gonna lose the performance, and it runs very hot. Your fans are gonna kick higher because it tries to cool it down, but it can't. And it's not the problem because of your cooler, and I'll show you this in a moment. The CPU just starts to thermal throttle itself a little bit to keep itself cool, and it's just like the characteristics of this. And I thought it's just me, but then I did some research and it looks like this is what other people have found as well online. There's quite a few posts on forums like Reddits and places, even on YouTube, guys saying that this is what it is. At first I thought this is like the problem of my cooler, but I'm using NZXT Kraken X74 AIO, which is like one of the best you can really get. It's a 360mm AIO. The pump is very fantastic. Everything is fantastic. And I'm doing the stress test, right? And I'm looking, my CPU is 83, 84 degrees. And I'm thinking, whoa, that is really hot. And as you can see on some of the B-roll while I was running all the benchmarks and tests in the background, you can see that CPU temperature on the motherboard over there is like in the 80s, 82, 83, 81, 80. And I thought maybe this is the problem with an AIO, but I'm feeling the tubes, I'm feeling the radiators, and I can feel the liquid temperature inside the actual, liquid cooler. And that is like less than 40 degrees. And that is just crazy. It just shows that we can't get the heat out from the CPU. Other people found the same results, that just the CPU can't be cooled down. It just runs very, very hot. Is this a problem, and should AMD change that? I don't really know. I'd like to know what you guys think, but if this is designed to run that hot, then it shouldn't drop down any frequency. I'd like to know what's the results from AMD, or if they tested it, do they know this? It's just a lot of power being just pushed through this 8-core 16-thread CPU. So the conclusion is this: even though this being like one of the best CPUs you can get for some of the single-threaded applications you can get for like After Effects, for example, this one is like the best processor in the world you can get for After Effects, just after 5950X. But the 5950X is a lot more expensive, and this is less than 1% in the top over there, or just losing it with less than 1%, which could be the error of the test. And some of the other applications like Lightroom and Photoshop, for example, like programs that like to use single-threaded performance and like to utilize that, it just works very good. Now the problem comes when you start exporting things, or you know, when there's more than one core being utilized, and then suddenly it is a problem because it just runs hot, things like that. So the conclusion is this: avoid this processor, avoid the Ryzen 7 and go with Ryzen 5, either 5600X if you want to stay on a budget, or go for Ryzen 9. 5900X and 5950X, they have different characteristics, and you can see that online they do not run that hot. If you want to know which CPU is best for you, check out some of my CPUs for Premiere Pro, DaVinci Resolve video editing. You can see which CPUs are the best for you to get and what's the best upgrade path and which is the best bang for buck CPU for you if you want to do any creative workflow. But if you can, I would rather get the 5600X and then later upgrade to 5900X and just skip this processor. I know that the stock availability is like, oh, we want this, so that's that. Now, if there's any gamers out there who use this same processor, I'd love to know your experience in the comment section below. How does it work for gaming applications or gaming things? But for creators' workflow and creators' perspective, for video editing, for example, all the rendering is going to be slower than it actually advertised because it's just on thermal throttles, and it just runs really hot. The system's going to be hot. Even the idle temperatures are a lot hot. That's just like a little rant talking head, what I wanted to tell you guys. If you can, avoid this. Just like a little review of this processor. Even though being good, it's got some weird characteristics that it likes to run very, very hot. Thanks guys for watching. Let me know in the comment section below if you have anything to add. I'd love to know from you and hear from you. We'll meet you down there. Thanks guys for watching. Bye bye. Don't forget to subscribe, like the video if you found it helpful. Yeah, adios.